Everyone, welcome to my weekly edition of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Laura Nerbonis and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Now today I have a very adorable card for you. It is using the charming Duck Pond bundle, so the Lily Pond Lane suite as well, and it's an adorable little slider card that I have to thank Cindy Brumbaugh for the measurements for. She made this so long ago using one of our motorcycle Enjoy the Ride sets with the designer paper and the pop-out motorcycle, and I couldn't help but love the idea of just like a motorcycle drives across the track of the little ducks swimming across a pond. So if you would like to join me today, I'm going to walk you through this card. I have put all of the measurements in the comments and the description, so you're welcome to just hit pause on this video and go get all of those cut, or of course you can hit pause at any moment and you can go and cut these pieces then yourself too. So the Charming Duck Pond stamp set is what I'm using. Really from the stamp on this card, the only things that I'm going to use are the sentiment and some of these little reeds for the inside of my card. I easily could stamp some more ducks or some frogs on the inside, but I figured the paper in this set is going to speak for itself. However, I have used so many of the dies to cut out things like the reeds, the lily pond, or the lily pads, the flowers, and I did stamp this set of reeds and cattails in Pretty Peacock, and then I cut it out using its silhouette here. So lots and lots of die cutting for this card, but trust me, it's adorable and it's really, really fun. Pardon me. Getting sleepy. Okay, so before I show you the card itself, I have to share with you the paper. Look how adorable this is. Each sheet is so different, and you could use, I didn't use this one, but you could use that one. This sheet has a bunch of characters that you can cut out with coordinating dies from the set. Some of them you'd have to fussy cut, but they're not too bad to do. I'll show you the back. I'm going to show you all of these because they're so pretty. I did an all-day retreat at the end of June using this suite, and I had so much fun making projects for that event. We did half day with the Mediterranean blooms and half day with these guys here, and they're so fun. I love it. Such potential with all of these papers. This was one I debated using to make the ducks kind of swim across the pond, but I ended up, I'm going to use this sheet in my fun fold class in August to do something instead. Very similar idea, but not this fold. Still going to have swimming ducks. So if you're in Canada at all and you want a copy of my calendar, I have events up until October booked. So this is the one that I used today. I'll just flip it here. There we go. So this guy, I chopped out the middle. First, I started by chopping the top and the bottom pieces off of here. So you'll follow my measurements, and then you're left with this little piece here in the middle for your duckies. So let's get crafting. I'm going to leave this one handy for visualization, and I'll try to show you where I cut the pieces, but let's do our base first. So we need a piece of cardstock. I'm using Pretty Peacock, but of course you can substitute in for any other color scheme of your choice. So this is going to be 5.5 by 8.5, and then we need 2 score marks. So the first score mark is going to be at 1.5, 5 3/4. 1.5, 5 3/4. And I know it's kind of funny because usually we have the smaller section as the top piece, but not this time. This time we're going to have the larger rectangle, the middle, and the small piece here, okay? So for the inside of our card, we need a piece of peach pie. This is going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. and 1 piece of basic white. This will be 3 3/4 by 5. We're going to layer those and add them to the center of our card right now. I like to just get that out of my way. Peach pie, and then this white piece here. And like I mentioned earlier, you can stamp anything you want on the inside. I just decided to go with the reeds and cattails. Thought it was fun. So I'm going to grab my pretty Peacock ink. I'm actually going to do that right now so it's done and out of my way. So the reed stamp, you can do in 2 different steps. You can do the reeds in whatever color you'd like, and then cattails in a different color. But I kind of like the color, the pretty peacock and the pretty peacock. So when you're lining up these 3 guys here, do you see these floating little tick marks? That's the top of the cattails, okay? So if you line up those 3 with the ticks that are floating in the air, you know exactly where to put your cattail. Alrighty, now we need to cut a cardstock panel for the front here and a cardstock panel for the front here. So my first cardstock panel here, also using peach pie, is going to measure, just want to make sure I'm giving you the right ones here. Okay, 2.5 by 5 1/4. And I do have these all written in the comments, very well laid out, so you can always go back and check. 2.5 by 5 1/4. This piece here is 1 1/4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to attach those with a flat adhesive right now. I'm going to move that out of my way for a second. Usually I would give you all the measurements and get you to cut the pieces, but I'm just afraid we would get our pieces mixed up. And I am trying not to let that happen. So I apologize because I know you guys are going to have to go back and forth to your trimmers, but it's really because of this designer series piece that I want to make sure you know the exact measurements. Okay, here we go. So I'd like to show you once again how to chop this piece down in order to get all 3 of these pieces out of it. Okay, so step number 1, I'll grab the trimmer so you can see. Step number 1 is going to be to do this large section, okay? In that large section, we need 2 1/4 inches wide. So make sure you've got lots of this reed section up in the top, and you're gonna do 2 1/4 inches. Okay, now keep in mind, these are 6 by 6 pieces, so we're gonna need to trim it down a little bit. I ended up trimming off from this right-hand side because I wanted as many of the reeds as possible. So I'm gonna trim this down to 5 inches. Just like that, okay? That piece will go into this spot, but we'll cut our other piece first, okay? So now, this is what you should have left. We're going to cut this bottom piece next. So we're going to turn it around and we're going to line it up to the 1 inch mark. This piece is going to be 1 inch across. We're going to slice this off 1 inch. Put this aside. We're going to come back to those duckies in a few minutes here, and then we're going to trim this down to 5 inches as well. This one doesn't really matter whether you take it off the left or the right. Keep that trimmer handy. We'll come back to it, but like I said, I don't want us getting mixed up anywheres. So we're going to now attach these two pieces in their correct places. Flat adhesive again. Like so. Your life would be much easier if you did not have a very specific patterned paper. You could just sit here and chop your DSP into different pieces and you wouldn't have to worry about following my directions of where to cut on this duck piece. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to recreate this with other designer paper, your life will not be as complicated. You can just mix and match your pieces however you'd like. Okay, so I decided I wanted a sentiment on here. So I'm actually going to stamp right up here in this space with Pretty Peacock and the Hello Friend stamp set. So that's just going up here. We're always so tempted to cut out like a label or a decal or something, and we forget that you can actually just stamp right on designer series paper and it looks great too. Okay, so don't forget you can do that. So here's our card so far. It's great, it's adorable, and I actually would be quite happy if I just had a card that looked like this, but we want to make it even better. We want to make this sliding panel that can kind of make our ducks float across the pond. Okay, so more pieces to cut. Get that out of our way. We'll bring it back later. We need to start with 2 pieces of Pretty Peacock cardstock or whatever cardstock you've used for your base. Okay, so 2 pieces of cardstock. They're going to be 2 1/4 by 4 1/4. Then you need a piece of peach pie. You'll only need 1 of these, okay? So this one is going to be 2 inches by 4 inches. Then we need something to make, you see these little hidden mechanisms? We need something to make that mechanism that slides. So that's going to be 2 pieces of basic white. I'm going to confirm this. 2 inches by 4 inches. And we're putting a score mark down the middle at 1 inch. 2 of those. And then last but not least, we will be cutting out our little ducky here, okay? So what we're going to do is, we'll do that together here, might as well. We're gonna have a little extra that you could use on another project, but we're gonna turn our paper so that you have your duckies, and we're going to line that up to 1 3/4 of an inch. 1 3/4. So that should just fit your duckies inside. 1 3/4. This piece can be used on a card in the future. I used it for a fun little project for my all-day retreat. Let me show you where she ended up. This was one of the cards we made. I used it just as this side piece here. Okay. Isn't he cute? That was one of our cards. All right, so that's 1 3/4. Now here's where you get to kind of decide, do you want to show more of the flower or do you want some of the lily pads? In the end, you need this piece to be 3 3/4 of an inch long. Okay, so doesn't matter, you choose what you're gonna cut off. Okay, so I think for mine, I don't know why, I ended up cutting off about a 1/2 inch from that side. And then I need this to be 3 3/4. So again, that's another extra piece you can use somewhere else. And there's your little duckies. Way more complicated than any other card, because you could just choose a designer series paper and cut it to the right size. Okay, so we made that a little overly complicated, but that's okay. It's nice to see the process sometimes. Okay, now let's build our mechanism here. Easiest pieces to do first are going to be our duck, layered right on top of the peach. I like to get things out of my way. Then we're actually going to pop this piece up on dimensionals and put it on top of one of the pretty peacock papers. Doesn't matter which one, they are the same at this point, so it really does not matter. Okay, so put this one up top for a second, and we need to fold these 2 white pieces in half. Grab a bone folder, you want a nice crisp line on both of them. Oh, that one went a little crooked. Straighten that out. Otherwise you'll be frustrated later. Okay, so we've got our 2 pieces here. Now, I'm going to suggest you use tape, because then you can have all 4 sides prepped and ready to go. If you decide to use glue, you'll only be able to prep 2 of the sides, and then you'll have to come back and do the other 2 in a minute. But I'm going to put tape on all 4 of my sides right now. Doesn't matter what order, just that all 4 of the sides have adhesive on them. 1 and 2. Okay, now I'm going to show you how these end up lining up without taking my backings off first. So how this works is I'm going to take the folded part and I'm going to butt them up to each other, and they will get centered onto one of my pretty peacock pieces. Okay, so you have to make sure that the crocodile mouths are opening opposite to one another. See, the 2 spines are what's touching, and you need to make sure this is centered on your pretty peacock paper. So I'm going to try and put these down very close to the same time. So I'm going to have one of them just resting here as a guide. The other one I'm going to butt up to it. And then I'm going to do the same thing, the other one here. Take off the backs. Make sure the spines are lined up. Oh, hold on. Mine ended up moving. There we go. Don't want it to move. You want it to be straight. Here's a little cheat. Take your pick tool and run it under your adhesive. It will lift it up for you. Just have to go all the way across. There we go. Okay. Let's try that again. It's just so sticky. There we go. I'm gonna just put down new tape. Give me 1 second. You do need them straight. Okay, trying this again. Okay, doesn't matter that that got a little wrecked. Nobody's gonna see it. Okay, here we go. Putting these in the center, back to back. Straight as they can be. There we go. Okay, got my 2 crocodile mouths opposite. Now we're gonna take the backings off of this one. And you probably guessed already, but we're gonna plunk this piece straight over top. So the 2 blue pieces are the exact same size. So you're just gonna want to make sure that those are lined up to one another. Like so. Okay, and then if you peek in here, you have this little mechanism that is going to, there we go, there you go, that is going to sneak in one side and the other. I kind of found it easier to just put this over the bottom piece and then to slip the top one in to the space. You can sit here and try to line it up, but I found it challenging. And the first time you do this, you're going to notice a little bulge because it's probably pushing against your card base. So all we're going to do is we're going to just press the card flat on the table and re-burnish this top fold. Now, when I move this, it should move freely, okay? Okay, so we need to decorate because that's fun. I know you can line it up, but this is like a foot in front of me and it's really hard to do unless it's in front of my face. So I'm going to cheat. Tuck it in like that. All right, decor. So you get to cut out whatever you like. I'm just going to show you a few pieces that I thought looked cute. And if you want to cut them all out, great. If you just want to cut a couple, that is totally fine as well. Okay, so what we're going to start with is this little guy here. I am grabbing this because I think I forgot to stamp on it. Nice thing about acrylics is it's easy to do, except I have to stand up. Again, too far in front of me. Okay, line up. Usually I'd have this done ahead of time. There we go. And the 3 little cattails also fit. Pardon my head, I know it's in your way, but I need to be able to see where I'm stamping. Okay, this guy I'm going to pop up on dimensionals. He is going to the left of my project. Kind of by Mama Duck here. Don't worry if it comes off the page a little bit. And then we're going to build some cattails. So I've cut out 2 out of Granny Apple Green and 2 out of crushed curry. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip these crushed curry pieces off and kind of graft them into place here. So snipping 1, 2, whoop, flying, 3, and 4. And if you don't want to do this extra snip step, you could take like a brown blends marker or something and just color the cattail a darker brown. But I'm putting a dot of glue up in the top part, and then I'm going to attach the little cattails right over top. The nice part about these dies is they cut 2 of these rushes out at a time, as well as 2 flowers in each of the sizes, so it doesn't take as long to do your prep work for projects. I appreciate when they do that. Okay, now when you're attaching these 2 to the card, just keep in mind that you don't actually want them to all be attached. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of adhesive under one of the leaves and 2 of the heads. I'm going to leave the other ones floating free. I don't need to worry about tons of adhesive on those. Just want something to attach this to the base. One. Then I'm going to be even more tricky with the next cattail. I'm going to put 1 dimensional hiding under this bottom part here. And I'm going to let it just be popped up. It'll be cute. Don't need to attach anything down below. Adding that. Dimensionals going under my 3 little lily pads. This lily pad also cuts out all 3 at once. 1 single, 1 double. Might move that over. So many dimensional backings. Right, this guy kind of hangs half on the decal and half off of it. And then you have 3 little flowers that you're going to attach just with a dot of glue. One. 2. You can see how just adding a few decal pieces kind of changes the look of your card so completely. 3. There. And now, because I've used glue to attach so many pieces, I can't play with this card yet. I can't be sliding it back and forth. So you just have to leave it on the desk to dry for a minute, and just keep in mind that when it's dry, then you can play with it like this. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Maybe give it a like or a comment, and I hope that you give this kind of card style a try. I look forward to seeing you next week on another edition of Show Me How It's Done. Take care.